Hello and welcome to the Pant Couture YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these great tutorials. I'm Erin, owner of the Fox's Den, and today I'm going to show you how to blend decoupage paper onto a piece of furniture to make it look like one beautiful cohesive piece. So we're starting off with this end table. This decoupage paper is technically a lobster, but I live in Louisiana, so I will be calling it a crawfish throughout the video. The first thing I do when I'm decoupaging is I lay down a very light color. We're using Pant Couture's color Arctic White for a nice clean base. Once that's dry, I'm going to bring my decoupage paper, lay it down so I can get the shape that I want. And I'm using a little paintbrush with some water to draw along the edge because you do not want to try to paint over decoupage when you have those straight lines from the paper. So I'm going to paint on little strips of the water where I want to tear the paper away to give me those jagged edges to make it so much easier to work with. So I did that all along the bottom. I'm going to do it along the top, and I'm going to do the same thing on all the sides so I don't have any straight edges at all because I want to be able to hide them. Now this is removing, as you can see, we have some pieces that are going to be hanging over, but that's okay. We'll fix that later. Now I'm coming in with Pant Couture's Decoupage Medium in Shine, and I'm going to put that all down on the base like a glue. I'm going to lay my decoupage paper down. For this one, I'm starting at the bottom and working my way up to the top. I'm just laying it down into the decoupage medium and smoothing it out, getting rid of all the wrinkles and bubbles. I do get a little rough in one spot and I rip it, but don't stress if that happens to you because it is fixable. So right here, there it is. I put a little bit of decoupage medium back down and I'm going to lay the piece back down, glue it down, and I'm going to come back later with paint and touch it up and no one will ever even know. I did not make my original decoupage medium big enough, so I'm going under these edges, laying them down, getting a nice smooth contact. Once that's down, I'm going to come back with my decoupage medium, start putting it on top, and I'm using my finger as I go to smooth out any more wrinkles. Just make it nice and flat. Just brush on the decoupage medium and smooth it out with your finger. There we go, getting all those little bits, getting along the edges. This medium will have a little bit of a shine to it, which I will be doing a top coat. But if you weren't, it would give it a little bit of a glossiness to it. So once I have that all smoothed out, I'm going to mix the colors Pitch Black and Night Sky. I'm going to do just a little bit of Pitch Black and Night Sky because I need a deep navy color. I'm going to start taking that deep navy mix and taking it around the very edge. I went through my paints and found all the colors that I felt coordinated the best with the colors that already existed in paper. So once I have that custom navy mix along the edges, I'm coming in with the color Night Sky just to start blending it out. And this will be first coat. Now we have the color Sea Glass. So I'm going to start working that in because you can see we have that lighter tone blue up at the top. Now, like I said, this will be the first coat of paint. We're going to do this, let it dry, and come back for a second coat of blend. But I am doing some stippling, doing some layering, just kind of adding in the colors to start out the feeling of where everything's going to go. I just keep laying in that custom navy color, the Night Sky, and the Sea Glass. Going to get all around these edges. Get that darker tone at the edge and leading into our lighter, brighter blues. While this first coat of blend dries, I'm going to start on the bottom. I'm using my custom navy color for the bottom of this piece, and I'm just painting all over. These are two of Pant Couture's chalk style paints, and they have excellent adhesion. They do a wonderful job. They have amazing coverage. I probably could have gotten away with one coat for this base, but I did two anyway. Sometimes when you're doing a really dark color, it's sometimes hard to see any spots you may have missed. So I always try to do a second coat just to be sure. So once that's done at the bottom and the top is dry, I'm coming back to do a second coat of my blend. And again, I'm getting the edge with that deep navy tone that I created, coming in again with the night sky, coming in with some of the sea glass as well. And I'm just going to keep stippling. So when you're doing like a rougher blend, I like to do it in a stipple motion because it's just a lot of pouncing. If you've never stippled when you blend before, it's just pouncing your brushes a lot. I do have a different brush for each color. So I have a brush for each different paint color that I'm using, and I just keep moving them all in together. For my highlights, I'm going to use some of the color Aquamarine. I'm just going to add it in a couple spots. We did have some brightness we lost while we were blending, so I'm going to add in those brighter tones along the body, at the back of the crawfish, along the claw, just in some various locations, just to give it a little pop, just like the paper was originally. I'm going to do the same process over on the other side, using my deeper navy, using the sea glass and the aquamarine and the night sky to just make a really beautiful, cohesive background. Adding some highlights, blending them out. And that's what I keep doing. Like add a little bit, blend it out. Add a little bit, blend it out. That's what's going to give this background the look that it was just one giant piece that I put on there, or even that I hand painted the whole thing. So once that is dry, I'm going to be fixing the details. I'm using Firelight, Arctic White, Tuscan Sun, Pitch Black, and Garnet. So I have these antennae. I need to extend them out because they ended at the side of the paper, but I don't want them to end on my piece of furniture. So I'm just going to take the Firelight and extend it, and then I'm coming in with a tiny bit of Tuscan Sun and a little bit of Arctic White just to get the same kind of coloration that's on the rest of the antenna. Because we were missing part of this foot, it wasn't even on the paper. I am drawing it on with some chalk, and then I'm going to paint it on. Before I do that, I'm going to use a little bit to touch up the edges of these other legs. They did get blended on top of a little bit. I want it to be a little more crisp, so I'm using the Firelight and the Tuscan Sun. So for this leg that we're missing, I'm using a little bit of Pitch Black in the middle. But I'm going to come along at the bottom and we're going to be doing the Firelight and the Garnet. I'm adding a little bit of Tuscan Sun up on these yellow spots that were already there on the legs. And I'm going to add similar things to the pieces I add, so it looks like they were always there. Adding a little bit of the Tuscan Sun just so it's the same yellow throughout. Here we go. Add that Firelight, that Garnet with a little bit of Pitch Black, because we need some shadow. Add a little bit of Pitch Black down at the bottom. There we go. There's his added foot. And on the other side, we're going to do the same thing with the antenna because that one was also cut off at the edge of the decoupage paper. So there we go. Add that in. And it looks like it's always been there. Coming back with Tuscan Sun just to clean up some of the edges. When you're blending, it does tend to get on top of other things. So for some of these details, I came in with Pant Couture's Luxe Metallic in bronze. I just brushed it on to some of these ridges. I brushed it onto some of the details on the legs. I did end up only having to do one coat of this Luxe Metallic. That was it. One coat and it was done. It was gorgeous. It was full finish. And that was it. Just brush it on here. Give it a little bit something extra at the bottom. Now we're going to top coat. I'm going to be using the Extreme Guard top coat in satin. This top coat is UV resistant, water resistant, stain resistant, mold resistant. So I personally love it for tables and pretty much all my furniture pieces that I do for people because I know that it's going to make this finish last for a very long time. So there it is. We have our top coat on. It's all finished. I think he came out wonderful. I can't tell where the edges are on the decoupage paper, so I'm super happy with it. And I think that someone's gonna be pretty happy to snag this piece. You can see that we've got a little bit of sheen from the top coat. We've got a little bit of pop with these bronze details. And I hope you guys have learned something today. Try some of these techniques, some of these tips. Let us know how you liked them. Make sure you check out all the product listings and the details. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.